Do you feel that if you do not give your children screens, they will be left behind? Well, before I give you my version, let me read out an article to you. I would like to tell you a little bit about kosher phones. What is a kosher phone? When you hear the term kosher, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Most likely, it's the food prepared according to dietary requirements of Jewish law. While the notion of kosher food dates to the Old Testament, we also have more contemporary kosher products, including modern technology, like a kosher phone. What is kosher in modern technology? Well, specifically, we want to talk about the kosher phone. But what is it, and how exactly is a phone kosher? While the origin of kosher phone comes from Haredi Judaism, it also found its way to other communities. I'm going to read you this whole article that is talking about kosher phones and how they came about. So a bit of backstory first. To understand the necessity and relevance of the kosher phone, it's essential to explore what prompted the development of this particular type of device. The idea of a kosher phone originates from the Haredi Jewish community. The term Haredi is a biblical word that translates to, now hear this, God-fearing. The term Haredi is a biblical word that translates to God-fearing. Members of the Haredi community are known for their strict adherence to Jewish law and traditions. They reject most modern values and practices as well as social changes. Probably the most straightforward example of this doctrine in modern elements can be seen in their relationship with technology. Let's face it, in the era of the internet, it can be pretty challenging to decide what's considered appropriate. Therefore, the Haredi leaders enforced a ban on any internet-capable devices. The reasoning was that the immense quantities of unfiltered and inappropriate information could be damaging to the community. Now, how does the kosher phone fit in? The Haredi ban on internet use has had an impact on the world of technology. Some Jewish business people still need to use a mobile phone to conduct business with those business associates outside of their faith and community. The rejection of the internet is not a rejection of technology itself. There is nothing wrong per se with a cell phone, as the idea of using a technological device only for talking didn't seem outright problematic. The concept of a phone being kosher was introduced. In many ways, the kosher cell phone is a compromise between modern technology and adhering to the principles of Jewish law. The two types of kosher phone. All kosherized phones fall into two major broad categories. The first is what you would consider the basic kosher phone, either a flip phone or one with a slide-out QWERTY keyboard. This type of kosher phone was made without ever having the ability to connect to the internet. The second type of kosher phone is just a regular smartphone that received a customized hardware update which installed filters that control the internet use. Let's take a closer look at both types of phone. The basic kosher phone, typically the basic kosher phone is a Nokia, LG, Alcatel, or any other brand of flip or slide-out cell phone you can get on the market today. The significant difference being that these phones have been altered to accommodate the needs of the intended user. Basic kosher phones don't have access to the internet, radio apps, camera, can't play video or audio, and usually don't even have texting abilities. This is a phone for making calls and nothing more. As you might imagine, using a phone in this way ensures the battery lasts longer and the phone plans are cheaper. Plus, the devices are also much more affordable than your average smartphone. A bonus of these types of kosher phones is that they are safe to give to children. Some kosher phones also receive a holographic sticker, often placed across the phone's camera, that signifies that Haredi leaders approved the cell phone and that it fits the description of a basic kosher cell phone. Then comes updated kosher smartphone with hardware filter. While some Jewish religious groups will only use the most basic kosher phone, others accept the idea of kosher smartphones. This type of smartphone is rooted and most but not all of the internet functionality is disabled. Social media and browsing apps are filtered. Usually these are simple smartphones by Samsung or another brand that supports the Android operating system. The smartphones are modified so that only specific apps can be used, such as grocery shopping apps, Waze, banking services, or Jewish databases. Of course, these phones are for making calls more than anything else. What is a kosher phone plan? Given that kosher phones exist, it's only natural to ask whether a kosher cell phone plan exists as well. In Israel, these plans are offered by phone companies and tend to be inexpensive, which is expected. However, in the US, there is no designated kosher phone plan, and kosher phone users can subscribe to a cell phone plan without any cellular data available. They will only be able to use it for calls, as all the internet and texting features have been disabled on the device. Are kosher phones only for the Jewish community? We've reached the point where the very term kosher offers a broader meaning than what it traditionally does. In many ways, kosher stands for proper or lawful, and with those meanings, kosher phones can have a place in other conservative communities as well. But taking it even a step further than that, the kosher phone has found consumers among other demographics too. The kosher phone industry is booming in many ways, and there might be several reasons. So who else can benefit from a phone that only makes calls? People trying to get offline. People who want simplicity. Senior citizens uncomfortable with technology. People who want an emergency-only phone. People with children. Now we're gonna read a little bit about people with children. Many parents understandably want to wait as long as possible before they purchase a smartphone for their children. At the same time, they see the value of reaching their children when they are not at home. The compromise between these two opposing tendencies is the kosher phone. There's no internet access, no texting, yet they can always reach their child and make sure they're safe. So, should you get a kosher phone? When it comes to cell phone features, a kosher phone is as basic as it gets, even when we are talking about the kosher smartphone. For the members of the Haredi Jewish community, these phones provide the minimum of features as their religious guidelines demand. However, even if you're outside of this community, you might see the advantage of using a mobile phone with the ability for voice calls only. My question to you would be, are you more God-fearing, or are the Haredi Jews more God-fearing than you are? While some of the Muslim scholars refer to the cell phone as hell phone, the Muslim community suffers when it comes to letting go of modern technology because they have this paralyzing fear of being left out. But left out from what? Hell? I know it's difficult to talk about reality because reality bites. It is uncomfortable. But let us make it a norm to have uncomfortable discussions so that we don't suffer from greater losses that we are doing right now. If we make it a norm to have uncomfortable discussions between our relationships, our close relationships, then we wouldn't suffer from surgeries and cutting off later on. Let me tell you something loud and clear. Courage is uncomfortable. Chivalry is uncomfortable. Being a hero is being uncomfortable. Comfort is for the weak and the lazy and the loser. Comfort is a word that has replaced lazy, loser, and cowardice. We are creating cowards in ourselves and our children by providing them more and more comforts of this world. We are making them lazy. We are making them weak. We are making them unable to fight the battles of life. We do not have to give them all the comforts that are actually robbing them of their own potentials. And we don't have to give them screens, because dopamine study at least has done us the favor of proving that it is addictive. Screens are as addictive to a child's brain or an adult brain as any other addiction of alcohol or cocaine or any other addiction. So why should we introduce heroin to our own child? Why should we make them addicts? Think about it. Replace their screens with physical activity, with creativity, with art, with calligraphy, with sports. Go have a picnic outside in the sun. The sunlight also releases dopamine. Other activities, time spent together, picnics, hiking, all these things, vacations in a hill station, all these things release dopamine. You don't have to give the child a screen. You will not be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did not you as a parent give your child a screen? You're not under any obligation to give your child screens. And your child will not be left out in dunya for not having screens. Remember one thing very clearly. It is we as parents who create the context of life for our children. My children have never seen a snake. May Allah forbid that they ever do. But they took it from me that a snake bite can kill, or it is poisonous. I created that context for my child. So it is we who are responsible for creating responsible human beings. We have to teach them right and wrong. We cannot expose them to wrong before their right is solidified. Look at Ben Shapiro. He does not even look like a Haredi Jew. He doesn't even look like one. So he is probably a moderate Jew, and even he does not believe in letting his children have any internet access or any screen before they are adults. How can we get impressed by the West and hand over screens and create addictions for our children ourselves? This is what we will be answerable for. We are answerable for making our children crippled or addicts of any technology or substance. We will not be answerable. Why did we not give them screens? Remember this. Change comfort with strength. You can tell your brain what you enjoy. You can choose when to release dopamine.